Two Mexican nationals were arrested in a human trafficking scheme in Hartford, Connecticut, one of whom has just been sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. The second one, who is the mother of the first one, is still awaiting her sentencing. However, they both pled guilty. So, Porfirio Maribel Ramos Sanchez, 47 years old. She's a Mexican citizen. She has been living in Connecticut with her husband. Her mother, she's going to just go by Sanchez, 76 years old. So these two women, along with a lot of other co-conspirators, unnamed, they started this trafficking situation where they would smuggle in Mexican citizens to basically be enslaved here in the United States for them. So according to court documents out of the U.S. District Attorney's Office in Connecticut, there was an investigation done by the FBI, Homeland Security. A ton of government agencies were involved in this back in September of 2022, where they had a large group of Mexican nationalists who had claimed to be smuggled into the United States from Mexico by these two women, and there were some others involved who were unnamed. Now, the deal was, you want to come to the United States from Mexico, it's going to cost you $15,000 to $20,000. You don't have that money now? Okay, you can give us the deed to your house if you have one in Mexico as collateral. And when you get to the United States, you're going to work off the $15,000 to $20,000 for that transportation to the United States fee. Now, that transportation fee to cross the border would be owed to Sanchez, who is Ramos's mother, the 76-year-old, okay? Once they're here in the United States, they're set up at different residencies, one being Ramos's house with her husband over at 74 Burnside Ave. And they would have to work. They would also do like household chores, gardening. They would just have to basically be their slaves and do whatever they said. And they would have to pay $30,000 plus interest. And they were told that would cover food, utilities, rent, and gas. Now, they never kept record of this, so none of these Mexican nationalists that were smuggled in had any idea how much they owed, how much they paid, nothing. And by the way, these Mexican nationalists that were smuggled in, they were smuggled in very dangerous ways. A lot of them died. They were injured, seriously injured. So once they were in Hartford, Sanchez, Ramos, and their little group there got them jobs. Sanchez and Ramos created a lot of false documents. They created fake Social Security cards, fake permanent residence cards. So these people that were smuggled, and by the way, there were a lot of minors that were smuggled. And there were at least two that the DOJ is reporting that were smuggled in without a legal guardian or a relative. So there's a lot more going on here than what's already happened. There's a lot more. If these victims didn't pay what they should whenever they got their checks, they'd be threatened. They'd threaten to harm their family members back in Mexico. I mean, it was a horrific situation for these individuals that were smuggled into the United States, you know? And so the investigation went on for about a year. So October 5th, 2023, Ramos was arrested. Her mother was then arrested. And then a year later in 24, and by the way, they were detained all this time. And then a year later in 2024, Ramos pled guilty. She had a plea, and the charges are conspiracy to encourage, induce, bring in, transport, and harbor aliens. So she was ordered to pay restitution, and as part of that plea agreement, she was supposed to, her and her husband's house, because that house was used for criminal activity, right? So she was supposed to sell the house and give the proceeds of that house for the restitution. It was almost $600,000. Well, she lied to them because she already sold the house to one of her husband's relatives for like $75,000 less than what it was worth. So she couldn't even use that towards restitution. And by the way, that house is at 74 Burnside Ave in East Hartford, if you're curious. Nonetheless, she violated her plea, but there was no information with the Department of Justice or in the court documents as to what occurred with that I found. But she got 3 years in the federal prison, and they said they will deal with the Department of Justice and Homeland Security, said they'll deal with her immigration status after she serves the 3 years in federal prison, and then she can be deported. Now, her 74-year-old mother, Sanchez, she also took a plea deal, pled guilty to the same exact charges, and she also has to pay restitution. Hers is like $100,000 less. It's close to $500,000, but there hasn't been any update as far as her sentence. She could face up to 10 years, so we'll see what happens. They also haven't said anything about everybody else that was involved, because they had like a whole little crew that was smuggling these people in and whatnot. And nor did they say what happened with the individuals that were smuggled in. I'm thinking maybe they were sent back to Mexico. I don't know. I haven't found any information. If you find information, let me know. But I'll keep you updated if anything new comes about. But what a story. I mean, this kind of stuff goes on and has been. This started in 2022, the investigation, by the way. And this has been going on at least, how old am I? 50, at least 30 years, at least. And I know that for a fact. So it's insane. You know, what these people, they get taken advantage of so badly. I'll keep you updated, but please like, follow, and share, and I'll continue to provide you with more content.